Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of PKM Weekly. So glad to say that this week we are back on video as well. So let's see what's in store for us for the past week. Obsidian, they're up first, and they've released version 1.10.3 to the general public, and that now includes the use light mode and use dark mode commands. Toggle light has been updated in the hotkeys, and then the mobile app launches significantly faster, so that when you open it, you can get started in it immediately. And you can see the full changelog here. There's a number of updates that have been released since the last time, so definitely worthwhile checking that out and updating your Obsidian version. And with that, there is now an update to the Obsidian roadmap, and they are now actively working on the mobile UI refresh, so just making it cleaner and easier to use on touchscreen devices, as well as mobile widgets, so quick actions from your lock screen, home screen, and more. And if you want to check out the full roadmap, you can see it here, where you can see the couple of active things and then what the team have got planned for the future. Nick, he went all in Obsidian bases, and here's what happened. So in this video he looked at combining Obsidian bases and workspaces to transform Obsidian into 4 powerful modes. So definitely worthwhile having a look at this one so you can see how Nick works in Obsidian and makes the best out of the workspaces and the Obsidian bases. So well worthwhile having a look at this one so you can get some ideas. And then there was a post in Reddit about a warning for Obsidian users: make backups and never keep your vault in the app's installation directory. So they posted, I want to share a painful experience. First discovered Obsidian, started using it immediately. Didn't really back up anything because I told myself I'm not the kind of person that will lose data. First mistake, and then the second mistake, things were that he kept his files in the default location, even though that is a big no-no. So definitely worthwhile having a look through this Reddit post for what OP learned and what went wrong, and a number of comments as well from other users. So the one that seems to be the prevailing one is: don't leave your vault in your app's installation folder for any app whatsoever. So lesson learned from OP on that one. Capacities, they've released the Readwise integration, and that's now available. So you can basically automatically import all your highlights from Capacities, or from Readwise into Capacities, in a nice and straightforward way. And you can see the full release notes here. So how it works, why we built it this way, the workflow, a video, faster editing, and then some other improvements that they've done in the app in the past weeks or so. So definitely worthwhile looking at that one, especially if you're a Readwise user and a Capacities user. And on that note, there was a video from Beth, and she looked at how to turn Readwise highlights into something more meaningful within Capacities. So in this practice,
if you're watching this video, you probably have hundreds, if not
goes through the whole
vault
detail of processing and linking, how and why, and reviewing, and she does it all through a good example that she talks us through. So well worthwhile having a look at that one if you want to get the most out of Readwise and the Capacities integration. And lastly, with Capacities, there was another developer that joins Capacities team. So Jonas, they joined as a working student to support us in the front end, and he is going to aim to remove friction, resolve bugs, and make the app more intuitive to use. So that's good to see that the team is growing, and hopefully that means that the app can get to the next level. So well done to the Capacities team on that one. Tana, there was no updates this week, but there is a live build session, so clarifying complex connections. And this is going to be Mark that is going to run the show, and he's going to look through demonstrating common relational patterns using intermediary tags, build structure, and apply relational modeling. So by the end, you will leave with a structured framework for mapping relationships in your data. So well worthwhile having a look at this one. Again, you might not use the exact work or flow that Mark is proposing, but there's definitely some ideas that you can take out of it, and that's going to be on Wednesday at 11 AM GMT, and to register, there's the link on Luma here. Logseq, Danzu, thank you very much for posting the changelog yet again, and this has a number of updates. Data migration validation, so there's been fixes for the old database graphs just to ensure data integrity and migrations and preventing invalid data states. Performance optimization, so they've made it more performant, so for large graphs. Page views increased from 1,000 to 200 to 300 milliseconds for graphs with 40,000 pages, and the initial page load times has reduced significantly, and mobile experience is underway as well with enhancements. So native bottom tabs introduced for iOS, improved touch interactions and better authentication. And that is all the while that they are working on the real-time collaboration and end-to-end encryption. So we should get a bit more news on those ones because they are still in closed testing. So hopefully when they get to a stage that they can release it, we will know more. But things are being worked on behind the scenes, and there are some good updates that the team are doing. There was a post from a user in Reddit, and just came across another note in my synced Logseq notes where I opened a collapsed list and it was empty. Go back to the version history and there I can see everything, but it just makes me a bit nervous of why some notes, when they're getting synced, some appear, some don't. And he's asking if other users have experienced something similar, and there was a few comments which says yes, I do, and how are you syncing your notes, etc, etc. So definitely worthwhile having a look at this one just to see if there's anything that you can tweak within your syncing, if anything similar is happening. Craft, they've had a bit of an update, so major update, Assistant, MCP API, whiteboards and Android app. 2026 voice and Apple Watch, Assistant and Kanban and OCR, and doing this without any price increases. So you can see the full blog post from the Craft team here and what they expect for 2026 or the next few months or so. So some big updates coming to Craft in the near future. So that's great to see. Octarine, they've had quite a bit of an update. Writing Assistant. So the Writing Assistant is a built-in research mode that basically takes your queries, responds with clarifying questions or requests, and once you've completed it, you can see what you want to do with it, help you draft it, refine your writing, or continue discussion. And now they've also brought in web search for beta, or at a beta stage, so you can use the Writing Assistant to include web sources, and you can turn it on and off by clicking the globe icon in the modal selector. So some big updates at Octarine, and there is even more. I've only posted a few there. So if you go to the Discord, you can see the Writing Assistant, the web search, quite a few improvements, quite a few fixes, and you can also see a demo of the couple of things that have been recently introduced. Noteey, they've got version 1.38, and this now includes the web browser. So basically it's a web browser, a built-in web browser that you can use within Noteey itself. Global search, card improvements, and various different other things. So you can quickly see here how it works. Let me just make that a little bit bigger. So you've got the globe, you can see the tabs, navigating to different web pages, and then you can take notes on the web page itself, add the bookmark, etc. Basically using a bit like a browser, and then take notes directly from within Noteey app itself. So that is great to see, and it does come off the back of Heptabase doing something very similar. So if you want to see a comparison between the Noteey and the Heptabase web viewer, definitely do check this video out by Anton, who talks us through the differences between the Noteey and Heptabase web viewer, and he gives us his thoughts on each of them. So well worthwhile checking that out. And on top of that, at Heptabase, what they've done recently is they've implemented a right sidebar which allows us to display all the to-dos on the current whiteboard and card. So you can see here, right sidebar, click on that one, go to to-dos, and you can see all the to-dos that are on this card or on this whiteboard. So just an easy way so that you can see what are the key things that you need to do without having to hover between the different cards or to a different page. So just to keep it all in the context of what you're doing. And then there's a few other things that they've done as well. Improve the overall PDF card resolution, fix various different bugs, and in fact there's a few other fixes as well that they've been implemented on a kind of daily basis. So great to see the Heptabase team working through that. And last but not least is Thymer, so no updates this week, but Wim did say he's going to update or post an update on Monday, so hopefully we will then know how many tasks are still left to do, which should give us an indication of when the app will be released. So that was it for this week, so thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next week. Thanks, bye.